Welcome to the Find Me the Money podcast. Today, our guest is Bradley Richardson, and we are talking about adulting after divorce. Bradley is the creator of Advanced Adulting, and he has coaching, speaking, and content to help grown-ass adults navigate midlife. He's a coach, a speaker, a 5-time author, a 3-time dad, a 5th-generation Texan. And Bradley is an Instagram sensation, helping people learn how to have better careers, relationships, and lives. Welcome to the show, Bradley.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this.
I'm excited too, because it's always fun to help people learn how to be adults. And I do not want to save this for the end. Where are people going to find you after they love this interview and they want to reach out to you and get themselves coached into adulthood?
Absolutely. The best places are going to be on social media or my website. It's both are I'm Bradley Richardson. I am Bradley Richardson. So I'm most often on Instagram, but you've got the website and then also on YouTube at I'm Bradley Richardson as well.
That's awesome. I know you and I have done a number of lives together. You do really great pop-ups where you answer people's questions, really valuable content. And so thank you for putting that out there because people are hungry for good content and hungry for solutions in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We all go through it. I mean, we suffer in silence sometimes and think it's unique and we're the only ones, and you're really not. Everybody goes through it in some form or fashion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so you have done a ton in your career. I know you worked at a very high level in recruiting and you've authored a bunch of books before that was even the cool thing to do, if I'm not mistaken. So how did all of that experience get you to where you are now?
It wasn't by design. It wasn't like I sat there and, some of these people on social media now it's curated. I want to be an author and a celebrity and Insta famous and influencer. No, I've been doing this for the better part of 30 years. It all started out in my 20s. I'm in my 50s now, but it started out writing a journal. Like a lot of people, you chronicle, look, it's the cheapest therapy you can ever have right there is just keeping a notebook and writing something out. And for me, it was I'm Gen X, okay, technically. So as a young man in my 20s, a Gen Xer working in New York in my first job, no one had told me about what it's really like to work. And so I kept a journal and I ended up being able to turn that journal into the first business book for Gen X called Job Smarts for 20-somethings. And it just kind of launched everything from there of being able to chronicle my life as I matriculate it. And you find out that there's a lot of commonalities, just like I said, about advanced adulting. And so I've written books about business, about starting over, about being a parent, and all of these things. And yeah, I was the OG influencer, I guess, before social media. So I've done all this. And then I took time out to raise kids and be an executive at one of the largest search firms in the country. And then, I hit a stage in midlife and got divorced and realized, hey, what do I want to do with the rest of my time? And it's that message, that thing that all of us go through, the changes and shifts and transformations and differences in your relationship and differences of who you are and who you want to be and who you thought you'd be. And I jumped back into it. And that's what led me here is my own, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, but I'm someone who has lived it and done a lot right and done a lot wrong. And I think that especially with social media, there's so many fakes and frauds and wannabes and bullshit artists that are like, oh, look at me and I did it and I have a Lambo and I make all this crazy money and I have a wonderful relationship. I go, dude, your spouse is, stooping their assistant. Come on, seriously. And I try and keep it as real as possible. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of them, and those I don't. We try and figure out together, or I try and put people in touch with and find the answers that are right for them. And that's what I do.
Right. I'm always fascinated by the people who are trying to teach people how to get rich on the internet when they haven't gotten rich on the internet yet themselves. Lots of pretenders out there. What made you choose this coaching thing, though? I know that you have all this experience that lends itself really well to it, but did you have some sort of epiphany that said, oh my God, I could really, help people, or I could really do something I enjoy? I don't know. What was that epiphany for you?
Well, I've always, if you go way, way back, I always loved, I started off as a writer, I guess. I was a salesman who could write. And that was, I remember walking in a Random House, my very first book deal, I said, I'm not a writer. No, who the hell says that when you're sitting in pitching a book? I go, I'm a salesman who can write. That's it. If you want to move books, I know how to do that. But it was trying to help people through my writing. Well, now with social media, with video, with all of that, it's just easier. And for me, it wasn't by design, but I've always been that. I've ended up being that person that people came to for, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, give me an idea. Or they run, whether it is like a big brother type mentality that people saw me as, or that friend who would shoot them straight and not blow smoke up their ass and say, oh, well, of course it's great. No, you're screwing up. Here's why, or here's what to think about. And it started with that. And the funny thing with advanced adulting, and it really started about 4 years ago. And I had so many of my female friends come up to me and they would ask me, it started off with dating questions. Like, I'm no dating guru, but I've, like I said, done a lot right and wrong. And I had a lot of female friends come up to me and say, okay, what does it mean when a guy does this? Or what do you think about this? Or how does this work? Or, and it started with someone going, I just wish a man would just show up like a grown ass adult. And I thought, there's something there. And that was it. And so it started with just sharing do's and don'ts and things I've learned, and good, bad, ugly. That was the epiphany. And I ended up, there's Marie Forleo is some of your followers may have heard of her, but she's a speaker, personal development person. And I was one of the first men to ever take her group or follow her. And it was really interesting. So it's a huge following of women. And I threw out this idea when I really thought about the idea of it. I said, okay, the bar is so low for men out there. Okay. There's a lot. I mean, I hear a lot of people bitching and griping and moaning about it, and rightfully so, because the bar is low. I want to do something that kind of sheds light on the good stuff or helps people navigate it. What do you think? And I thought I would get crucified as a middle-aged white man from Texas. I figured I'd just get, in the political correctness, I figured I would just get crucified. And I ended up having overnight hundreds upon hundreds of women around the world go, oh yeah, this needs to be done, and you're the guy for it. So that's kind of how it started. Went from
I
there.
I love that story. Okay, so your platform is all about navigating midlife, making
Right.
better decisions, learning how to communicate, doing things that really move you forward in life and get you to where
Mm-hmm.
you want to be. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that divorce is a perfect time to start figuring this stuff out. What do you think?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And just so your listeners know, I mean, yeah, I've been through it. So I was married for 16 years. I have 3 kids who are now grown. We got divorced when they were younger. The youngest was 10 at the time. It was a horrible, acrimonious divorce. I did, and spent a boatload of money on it. I've been divorced for 13 years now. And, here's the interesting thing. I think a lot of the gurus, especially in the divorce world, oh, you can co-parent perfectly and you can get along. No, sometimes you don't. Sometimes even 10 years later, it's a business relationship with someone I don't like. That's it. And everyone's different. But, I think divorce is a perfect time to reevaluate everything in your life, because it is a forced fork in the road. It is not anything really anyone plans. I mean, when you're 27 years old, you're thinking, oh, it's wonderful, and we're going to have this great thing, and it's going to be married for one time, and no one sits there and thinks, well, I wonder, this is going to be a great starter marriage, and when I'm 45, I'll do it differently. No one thinks
Mhm.
that. And so, and when you're getting divorced, I don't, again, yes, the broken clock is right twice a day, and there are people that have the wonderful, amicable divorce. I think it's horseshit. I think the moment you say, we're done, you become adversaries in large part, and something got you to that point. But I think that you have that hand forced upon you, or whether you do the leaving or someone leaves you, it is a time to really evaluate things. And it's hard because not only do you evaluate your finances, where you come in, I mean, that's a huge part of it, of, hey, my lifestyle is about to change dramatically here. Maybe things were not as I had believed or had been misled or lied to. The what will I do next? So there are the practicalities and pragmatic elements of it, more or less the administrative elements that are important. But a huge part of it, this is a perfect time, once the dust is settled, because it's almost like triage. You have to figure out, okay, how am I getting out of this thing? What am I going to make? What am I going to leave with? Where am I going to go? All that. But the secondary part of the triage would be, okay, I get a chance to shake that Etch-a-Sketch. I get a chance to start over, to pull a Lady Gaga or Madonna and reinvent myself and figure out who the hell I want to be and what I want to do. The challenge is, and so your folks know too, I mean, I have a pretty big social media following. that's about 80% women, which is interesting as a man doing this.
Yeah.
But what's funny is people tend to fall on one, they tend to go to extremes. One extreme is the, wide-eyed Pollyanna, open, oh, just I want somebody to love me and be accepted. Great. Awesome. Not that great, but the other one is worse. And that is the, I'm going to be so bitter and hang on to everything. And that son of a bitch left me like this, and he cheated on me, and he's living the life on the beach with all the money, and I have to sell real estate now, and he's with that 28-year-old. And they hang on to that for years, and they never move forward. And meanwhile, that person is living their life, and you are stuck and held captive. And is that the other person's fault? Yeah, maybe they created the situation, but it's your fault. And people don't like hearing that. It's your fault for hanging on to it
Well,
instead of
right.
saying, I have a choice.
We all we can control is how we react, and it sounds like such a talking point. You hear it a lot, but it really is true. I see women in these online divorce support groups really invested in. I need an apology from him.
Huh.
I need
Yeah.
him to tell me all the details of the affair and tell me exactly what happened. I need him to act this certain way after we're divorced. And the bottom line is, you can't control any of that. And if you are putting your own happiness invested in how he
Mm-hmm.
acts, you're never going to be happy.
Oh, again, it's so funny. I mean, I get it's interesting. The people that are drawn to me and my audience at all. Like I say, sometimes it's kind of the less wacky version of a Matthew McConaughey, I guess, a Texan thing. But sometimes you get a hug and a cookie, and sometimes you're going to get a boot in the ass, and you may not like the answer. Maybe that could it be that's what drove you that because you want a certain outcome. We can't control anybody, and I think that's one of the biggest fallacies that we all go into, at least in America, of going into a marriage. Of it's all going to be a Hallmark channel, and I can change them. I can control them, and I can make them what I want. No, you can't. You can't whatsoever. And the idea of an apology, there's something if you really you don't want to know the facts. I mean, you do monetarily, because because you're going to help them
Right.
find the money. You need to know that. But you do not. You think you do, but you do not want to know how long that's been going on. You
Right.
don't not want to know that he went to Cabo instead of Milwaukee. Okay, you do not want to know anything about her or this. You think you do, and that apology you want and need so desperately to get on, you will never get. Or it's going to be like when you get two kids, 7-year-olds that are fighting, hey, make up, shake hands. Yeah, they're going to do that in really heartfelt, aren't they? Yeah, I'm sorry, whatever. But the Bishop T.D. Jakes, okay, Oprah's pastor of the Potter's House, he has this phrase that I loved, and it got me through a lot. And he goes, you know what? It's this idea of forgiving your ex. And you're thinking, whoa, well, who's going to do that? I'd rather put a bullet in him. Are you kidding me? No, I mean forgiving your ex and saying thank you. Thank you for doing this. And I know people are going to be going, what do you mean? Thank you for leaving me with nothing and all of it? No, thank you for that pain. Thank you because of that, I got to be free because I wasn't going to leave that situation otherwise. I got to be free and live my life, to find myself, to be happy, to find a man that loves me, to actually be the parent I want to be, and to live my life. We don't think about that until down the road because we're so in the middle of it right now of the bitterness and the hatred,
Right.
rightfully so, or how am I going to get by? But, we talk about advanced adulting, it's a process. It's an ongoing process, and you get a second chance. Like I said, you shake that Etch a Sketch, and you get to live, how you want.
Right.
And the sooner you figure that out, the happier you're going to be.
Well, just think about if you are midlife, like you and I are, Bradley, in our
Mm-hmm.
50s,
Right.
you most likely will live at least another 20 years, maybe 30, maybe 40.
Right.
Imagine being released from a person who is not honest with you, not devoted to you, doesn't love you the way you need to be loved. You've just been
Right.
released from that. And now I know divorce is a process and the emotions are all a process, and you're not going to get
Sure.
there to that acceptance overnight.
No.
And if you are just in the thick of your divorce, you're probably thinking, yeah, easy for you to say you're going to be happy that you were let go, or made free.
Right.
Trust me, it takes some time, but you will
It
eventually
takes a
get
long
there.
time.
And
Yeah.
you can have
You know.
decades of happiness without that person.
Yeah. And one important thing that I see a lot of my clients do, and men and women make this mistake, But especially if you're coming out of a toxic relationship, a loveless relationship, anything, and you that next person, when you finally jump back in, people are so scared of being alone. There are worse things than being alone, okay? Like being in a shitty relationship, being abused mentally, physically,
Right.
being lied to. There's a lot worse than that, okay? Yet a lot of people will leap back into something, and they have the blinders on. I did this. Like I said, it's not gender specific, but it's oh my God, they listen to me. They see me. They actually have sex with me. This is fantastic. It's wonderful. No, you have not done the work whatsoever. You're just inserting a different picture in the same frame
Hmm.
right there. And you're looking to fill this hole because you think you need something rather than what you really want is a connection. You want a connection and you want to be standing on your own because, and it's so funny. It's this weird, again, I hear this from clients. They talk out both sides of their mouth. Okay. And what I mean is, I don't need a man, but I want a man. I don't need a man, but I want this. Okay, fine. It changes. Okay. Do you want, what do you really want for you? Do you want to be married in a relationship? Cool, if so, but you don't have to just because society says so. Do you want to go play around? Fine, if you want to. Whatever is right for you at that particular time. And you're going to ebb and flow and grow and change. And that's the good part right there. But letting go is critical because that holds more women up than men.
Hmm.
And I think that is probably the biggest mistake because you're giving power. Look, you've already given enough of your life to this person. You probably gave half your stuff, okay, if not more. Why continue to give energy to that person?
Right.
And that's it.
So at divorce time, we go from we to me.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of secrets can you share, Bradley, for navigating such a big shift in life?
Yeah. The we to me thing is a huge one because you think about it. I mean, how are your weekends? What are we going to do? We like this. Okay. And I remember one of the first dates I went on after I got divorced, and it was a setup. And look, I mean, I can talk to a wall, but I was nervous. And I remember, and this woman goes, "Oh, so what type of music do you like?" And I froze. I froze like a deer in the headlights. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know because I had really kind of lost myself in this. And I think that's one of the big things is, really discovering who you are again. Now, and that sounds really esoteric and big woo woo and all that stuff. And we misinterpret. We think, well, I need to reinvent myself. Well, do you think it's not always a matter of layering crap on top? It's not a matter of finding new stuff. But there are two things. Number one is going backwards. And what I mean is, who were you? Who were you before you became a wife, a spouse, a mother, a parent, an employee, whatever? Who were you when you were truly free and on your own? Okay? When you didn't have to live up to someone else's expectations, whether that was a parent, a society, a husband, anything. What did you like to do? How did you hold yourself? How did you carry yourself? And not all of it is going to carry forward, but I believe you got to go backwards to go forward. And instead, people just think, "Oh, well, I'm going to go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca or do yoga or whatever." No, that's bullshit. That comes, but first, who are you right here? And then the example I use, and I use this with my clients and in some of the courses I do, is this idea of a chameleon. A chameleon is we see all these wonderful pictures. They're green, they're pink, they're blue, whatever, and the chameleon adapts its color to its environment to survive, so to avoid being lunch. Yet for past 15, 20, 30 years, many of us have, like chameleons, adapted our behavior to survive, to belong, to be loved, to fit in. And so after a point in time, you forgot what your original color is. You don't know. So I encourage people to go back and figure out what's your original color. Who were you before? And one way you do that is you have that freedom's a key word, to be curious. So once you've established what do I want to bring forward, be curious about everything. Not everything's going to work. Not everything, I remember I went on a series of bad relationships after I got divorced. Okay. And my friends stopped me and they said, "Bradley, you keep getting better looking versions of the same person." And they just,
Ooh,
and I'm like, God. And they used to, the name for it was, they said coffee. I go, "What do you mean?" They go, "Well, if they are hot, dark, and bitter, they're for you." That's
nice.
exactly it.
I love
And
it.
yeah, and it hit. And I think we do. And we think, oh, well, they're so different. No, it's the same person, just in a totally different costume. That's it. So be curious. Be curious about what you want to do, experience, how you want to present yourself, show up. And the other word that I use for folks is shine. You know, when was the last time you really shined? And that's not to sound all woo-woo again, but I mean, when was the last time you felt badass? You felt confident in your skin. You felt hot, amazing, walking into a room, comfortable in what you say, who you're around, didn't have to worry about anything. Think back to that, or think how you want that to be moving forward, and try it on for size, because nothing's stopping you right now. You don't have that. You don't have that ex or that ex-husband, or whoever, going, "What are you doing? That's weird," you know, or someone else judging you. You're going to shed, you know, after a divorce. What happens? You know, outside of the material stuff, what you lose half your friends. It's just
Mm-hmm.
straight up. You lose half your friends. Okay, they're picking it. I remember when one woman came up to me, which we were couples friends with, and I'm in Texas. Okay, she goes, Bradley. She goes, I'm Team Meredith. Sorry, love you. You're a good guy, but I'm Team Meredith here. I got to go with her. I'm like, okay, fine. You know? And so the point is, you're going to lose people anyway. So go just try and figure out how you want to change it up and add to the mix for you, not anybody else.
I love that advice. And I love how much value you've just packed into one short podcast episode. This is awesome. But I have to say, Bradley, sometimes it is really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. If I'm in the process of divorce right now, I'm saying to myself, well, it's easy for you to say that it gets better and you can have a new life, but I didn't want any of this. I never wanted to be divorced. So for someone who is struggling through divorce right now, what is the first best thing that they can do to work towards becoming that advanced adult?
Um, Again, this is going to sound pretty, 30,000. There's a lot, okay? But I'm going to give you the 30,000 foot view on this while you're going to, and we're talking about in the midst of divorce, while
Yes.
you're going through it. Leave it to the professionals. Get your ego out of it. Get your ego totally out of it. You're hurt, okay? You're hurt, you're burned, you're screwed over, you are confused, all of this. And yeah, you want your pound of flesh, you want them to hurt, you want to, what, all of those things, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a saint, okay? Everybody, it doesn't matter if you left or were being left, okay? And it is so much, I know, easier said than done, but if someone had sat me down and showed me exactly, if future me came back and said this, let the attorneys do their work. Okay. Let the attorneys do their work. Let the forensic accountants do their work. Just say know what hill you're going to die on. Okay. And then leave it alone, and don't worry about, or try not to worry about, them, what went wrong, can I get it back? Anything. Because it's done. The horse is out of the barn, the toothpaste is
Mm-hmm.
out of the tube. And I can't tell you not only how much money I pissed away, how hard it was on my kids, how much time I wasted not only during it, but how much I hung on to it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, we reflect and Monday morning quarterback this whole thing. Okay, that was a chapter that is over, that is done. And, there were good times. We instantly think, oh my God, it was all shit. Yeah, there's probably a lot of shit. But take the good times, chalk that up, take the rest for experience, and just get your ego out of it as quickly as possible and begin living your life. And begin living your life does not mean, this is super important, folks, does not mean hopping on an app, hopping into another person's bed, playing around, doing whatever, okay? That is the last thing you need to be doing. But so many people go there, okay? Just go do something for you, figure you out, and make life simple.
Get yourself together first. So, Bradley, tell us again, if people are interested in your coaching, your social media content, your courses, where can they find you?
Sure, the best place. It's all consistent. It's I'm Bradley Richardson. I am Bradley Richardson. I'm on Instagram more than anything else, but it's all the different social media platforms. The website is I'm Bradley Richardson, so you can reach me there. Send me a direct message or an email. The other thing that I think would be really important for your listeners, two things, is I do a lot of courses, and I have a course that is tailor-made for people in this situation. It's called Free Yourself: How to Leave, Move On, or Heal from a Toxic marriage, relationship, or breakup. And it's a video course that takes care of a lot of the pragmatic elements, but also the emotional elements in helping to really set you free and find yourself and move on. So I encourage people to check that out on my site and other places, or reach out to me. And the other thing is the podcast on YouTube, and that's I'm Bradley Richardson as well. And I have I share tips and tools and advanced adulting things, but also introduce them to a lot of other amazing people like yourself and others who can help them navigate midlife like a grown-ass adult as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. Lots of great stuff. Can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Thanks.